Talk Football Live. Now, here's the 13 Wham Sports Team.
All right, welcome back to a bonus edition, we're going to call it, of Let's Talk Football Live, presented by Connors and Ferris. As always, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. We're talking once again about the Bills-Chiefs matchup. We're also going to take a look back at the Bills against the Titans, any takeaways from that game. But let's just say there was some news in terms of the NFL, in terms of some signings. Mike, Le'Veon Bell, there was a report out there that he was interested in Buffalo. Tonight we found out that he's going to end up probably signing with the Chiefs. Yep. What is your takeaway about what that says about for both the Bills and for Buffalo in general?
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell was interested in the Bills. The Bills were interested in him, too. What it tells me is, first of all, that the Bills are one of those teams now. Everybody knows they look like a playoff team and a place you want to play. Secondly, it shows me that Brandon Beane is going to go out and get players. If somebody's available, especially a guy like this who's, you know, going to get him on the cheap sort of at this point because the Jets are paying the bulk of his salary. I think it was a smart move to look at. They have not been great in the running game. Is this that bad for the Bills? Not necessarily. They probably didn't want to see him go to the Chiefs either, one of their main rivals, you know, in the AFC. Yeah. But I think it does show that the Bills are going to be out there, and I think they're going to be looking for defensive help, too.
Yeah, it's a win-now mentality, right, guys?
Yeah.
The fact that...
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, it's the fact that the Bills understand that right now they have a high-flying offense, that their defense still needs some work, and maybe this team's just going to outslug people offensively. Like maybe, and like I said, we will get into that talking because if you want a slugfest, you got one with the Kansas City Chiefs offensively this week. Yes. But it's a sign, and Jenna, I think we talked about it off camera a little bit. The image of Buffalo has changed over the last few years. The
Absolutely.
fact that Bell would even have Buffalo in his conversation, right?
The fact that the Bills are considered contenders from even a little bit ago when, you know, when Antonio Brown was joking about coming to Buffalo. It's just completely different.
Well, and it's also different for this reason. It would be easy to say, well, come on, it's Le'Veon Bell, a guy who flamed out with the Jets, who wanted to get out of Pittsburgh. But Kansas City wants him. Yeah. And Miami's trying to build, and they want him. And I would imagine there were other teams that were interested, too. I mean, it made sense with Miami. He lives in Miami.
Yes.
But he's basically choosing between the Bills and the Chiefs. Look, if you're choosing, that's a team that won the Super Bowl and has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I can see why Bell chose them, but we will see how it ends up playing out for the entire year.
Going off of that, do you think he will play on Monday? Is there a possibility of that?
I was trying to figure out the whole COVID part of this.
Yes,
and it's
that's
still going to
added
take
layer, yeah.
Yeah,
it's complicated.
It is, yes, because in normal, how can we use the word normal? There is no normal. But in these circumstances, he's not in Kansas City. He's got to join the team in order to practice at all. I don't see any way, even if he's officially signed, I mean, it's going to be Friday by the time he would get to Kansas City. I know he has to take 2 COVID-based tests to get in the facility. Could it happen in time to then fly with the team and they come up with a series of plays? Look, he's a running back.
Yeah,
he's
pretty
direct.
direct.
He can figure that out a little bit. But they may not be in that big of a rush. I mean, they want to get him on the field, get him acclimated. And as we said, Kansas City's got a few other guys that can play, too.
I think they have a couple other options, huh, Dan?
Yeah, I don't think Bell is picked up for this week. I think it's a much bigger picture. I don't think they need to rush him. But, hey, Mike, Andy Reid can probably do anything.
Yeah.
If there's a coach that can probably get somebody ready for an offense, it's probably Andy Reid.
Yeah. And we've seen this happen before. But, again, the COVID part of it delays him even getting into the facility. So I think, to your point, they picked him up for the year, not necessarily for Monday afternoon.
All right, we're talking about the present. We're going to take a look back, though, as well. A rough loss for the Bills, 42-16, a embarrassing one to the Titans on Tuesday. Buffalo basically... Really, I mean, it was a sloppy, it was undisciplined, and it was uninspiring, honestly. And we talked to Josh Allen postgame about what he saw and how the team can move on from such a uncharacteristic loss.
We got punched in the mouth early on, and I can't do that to our defense, put them in vulnerable situations, and it is what it is. You know, we're not going to let this one loss define us. We understand, you know, you can't win them all. So, but again, we got to be better, disciplined. You know, turnovers. Decision making on my part, penalties, costly penalties, drops early on. We got to be better, and you know, it starts with me. So again, we'll learn from this one. We're not going to make it a bigger deal than what it needs to be.
Yeah, a couple comments as well. We want to hear from you on our 13 Wham Facebook page as well as on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Ed Prindley was saying that Allen is going to see a lot more cover 2 coming up in these games, and as well as a lot of people saying that, one, the offensive line needs credit. Another one says the offensive line can't run block. So there are issues, and it seems like we're all over the place on how the Bills fans are trying to handle what was really a lackluster performance from a team that we haven't seen. Maybe it was just like trauma that it like brought back like bad memories of years past, because the Bills are still 4-1. Like, not to summon like Aaron Rodgers here, but like relax. Like, it's
RELAX.
Like
relax.
Like they're 4-1. Like, there are much bigger challenges going ahead of them. And like I said, you know, I don't think necessarily anybody thought they were world beaters when they beat the Dolphins and the Jets to start out. So things are never as good as they seem. They're never as bad as they seem. And Mike, you said it best. In the NFL, you are either being humbled or about to be.
Yeah, it is. But the thing you would look at is I think the Bills have elevated their status around the league, right?
Absolutely.
People look at them, you know, player of the month in Josh Allen in the first month of the season, and they look like a legitimate contender in the league. So when you start to evaluate them, you say, hey, look, Kansas City doesn't have a great defense either, but they have Patrick Mahomes and they won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
The Bills have not been there yet, right? They got to the playoffs, they lost a game they probably should have won. So these are all things to build on, and I don't think you have that level. Now, there's Trey White at practice today.
Yeah.
That's encouraging. Not encouraging that he's wearing what appears to be a back brace, but that he's actually out there on the field. They were just doing a walkthrough today.
Jog through.
Light
Jog through. Can I say? Jog through, sort of like they play defense.
Well, I was going to say, Dan, I mean, I thought it was just such an uncharacteristic performance. And, like, the 10 penalties, the lack of tackling, just for me, it was so surprising because I feel like Sean McDermott talks night and day about how you have to be mentally prepared. You have to take every game seriously. You have to, you know, respect your opponent. And on Tuesday, I felt like they kind of just thought they could roll out the ball.
Yeah, look, teams lose. You know, like said, Micah Hyde said it best. Like, the only thing that they now know is that they're not going to go undefeated. Sean Patrick on Facebook saying the defense is terrible for some reason. There's a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
One is they are not getting any pressure on the quarterback. According to Pro Football Reference, the Bills are blitzing the second most in the entire NFL, but they're getting almost nothing on quarterback pressure. They are tied for the 6th fewest quarterback pressure. So they are blitzing and not getting anything. And when you blitz, Mike, and you don't get home to the quarterback, that is a problem.
Yeah, Robert Kurtz says it wasn't a playoff game. Chill.
Chill.
Now, he's right in the fact that that game was played in October.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying is it wasn't specifically about that game. It's issues that look like they could be issues for a while.
Yeah.
Because the defense hasn't looked good all year. And we are not talking about playing against Duck Hodges like they did last year.
Yes.
The quarterbacks they are facing with Mahomes.
Yes.
And then you're going to get Cam. And
Russell
you're going to get
Wilson.
Russell Wilson. And you're going to get Ben Roethlisberger. And you're going to get Kyler Murray. I mean, they are playing outstanding quarterbacks the rest of the year.
Mike, did they not last year?
So we said, go ahead, Dan,
Hodges.
give your numbers, Dan.
Well, I thought it was a great point. Look, the Bills played 13 quarterbacks last year. There are 6 of them that are no longer starting quarterbacks. 2 are out of the NFL, and Eli Manning and Duck Hodges, as Mike mentioned. But they also played Andy Dalton, who is a backup, Brandon Allen, who is a backup, Dwayne Haskins, who has been benched as well, and I'm forgetting one more, but they didn't face a murderer's row of quarterbacks last year. So 6 quarterbacks that they faced last year are no longer starters or not in the NFL.
Yeah.
So about half of the quarterbacks they faced last year were not very good.
Yeah, did you mention Marcus Mariota?
There it is.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
the guy.
that's
And
it,
Mariota, when they won in Nashville, was the starter, and then it became
obviously.
Tannehill.
Tannehill.
13-4.
Yeah.
So concern about the defense. So Sean McDermott was talking this week for his regular news conferences, and I got a chance to ask him, you know, Sean built his reputation on being a defensive coach, first and foremost. And even though he's in charge of the whole team, I said, do you feel it more when it's your defense that doesn't come through?
Yes, I do. I'm not laughing at your question. I'm just, if you could only be in my brain right now, Mike, on the plane last night and trying to sleep a couple hours last night, you don't want to be there. It's a big part of my mentality, and you know, I haven't been satisfied, quite honestly, with where we are at this point defensively. But I remain confident in the unit.
I'm picturing the flight attendant walking by Sean McDermott. Coach, would you like anything? And him just glaring up at them as he's looking at the film.
Head down the aisle.
And no eye contact
for sure.
with him after the game.
Dan, any good comments over there?
Yeah, over on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, PJ Teej saying that, do you think that Bean makes any big moves before the trade deadline to fix the defense? Obviously, Le'Veon Bell is reported to sign with the Chiefs. He wasn't going to help the defense anyway.
Yeah.
But, guys, what do you think about, I mean, there are going to be pieces out there. Trades in the NFL are always tricky.
I think we're going to see more this year. I think teams are going to be making moves. I think there are teams that are going to have, it depends, right? I mean, are there going to be really good high-priced players out there, or is it going to be the guy you sort of plug in? I think they're going to look for defensive line help. I think they may look for veteran linebacker help. Lorenzo Alexander, you can come back. And I think they're going to look for corner help, because not only are they not getting great play out of the backups, but you're now talking about, a guy like Cam Lewis playing regular amounts of snaps, and he's not there yet if he ever becomes one. So I think corner and defensive line are absolute priorities, and I think Bean will go out and get them help.
And I think the point from them even going after Le'Veon Bell is the fact that it kind of shows they're in that win now type of mentality, that they want to get the guys, and they believe that they have the potential for that. So I could absolutely see Buffalo doing some deals in free agency. Now, we did take a poll for Bills Mafia. We want to hear from you as well as we talk about the season going forward. Bills poll, does the Titans game change the way you look at the rest of the season? Best replies will be on Best replies tonight. 47, this is almost a dead split. 47.3% saying no, a bad night. 45.7% saying slightly worried. Only 7% on that panic button. But, Mike, the fact that it's so split, what do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just don't think it looked like a Sean McDermott team, right? They were undisciplined. The defense played poorly. And this is where I come back to it. Even with Trey White and Milano on the field, they have not looked great defensively.
Right.
And I know it's tough to play defense in this league.
Yeah.
And I know it's
Points
been so
are up
hard.
across the league.
They are. But I'm of the belief that you're going to have to make plays defensively. And I think, you guys know what I'm talking about here. There's forcing 3 and outs, Dan, and getting punts. And then there's going, taking the ball. And that's what, Josh Norman did in his first game out there, first game playing. He went and stripped the ball in the Raiders game and got it back for them. They get interceptions. You get sacks. You force a team back. It's hard to stop teams play after play in this league. You don't give up touchdowns. 6 times in the red zone, 6 touchdowns for the Titans. The Bills of years past would not be giving that up.
Also, Mike, worth noting on that Titans game, the Titans had very short field, either off interceptions or poor special teams. Now, that's not to say that the Bills defense, like I said, deserves any breaks for how they played, but this has always been a defense that has never really been a fully stout defense. Even last year, they would give up a lot of yards and then hold for field goals. So that was what was puzzling to me, Mike, was where you said they went 6 for 6 on touchdowns. That was a concern. But look, this was a defense last year, and there are some comments here, Sean Patrick saying, I think McDermott should call the defensive plays. This was a defense last year that only allowed 16 points per game, and Frazier was calling the plays. Frazier's calling the plays now, and now it's up to 28. Like, I don't think it's that simple just to yank the play calling away from somebody and thinking that that's going to fix everything.
Yeah. Well, and you made the point, Dan, and had a good tweet about pressures and going after it. And a lot of times when you're not seeing that pressure from the defensive line, fans will say, we got to blitz more. We got to blitz more. Dan, are they blitzing more? Yeah,
they're blitzing the second most out of anybody in the entire league, but they're not getting home at all. They are tied for the 6th fewest quarterback pressures, although they're blitzing the second most in the NFL. That is a recipe for disaster, especially without your top 2 corners in Levi Wallace and Trey White. You're now leaving guys more on islands that aren't necessarily starters to begin with.
It's scary, and it gets even scarier when you look at who's coming to town next.
Yes.
I mean, with the Chiefs team, we obviously know there's. Look at that. Yeah, reigning Super Bowl champs. Who would have guessed? Yeah, the Chiefs, they were practicing, getting ready for this Bills meeting on Monday. And that guy right there, Patrick Mahomes, number 15, he is so good. We've seen how dynamic of a player he can be. He both beats you with his legs as well as through the air. He's a guy, again, we said it earlier, $500 million contract, unprecedented. He is like the king of the NFL right now. He is the face of the NFL. But, Mike, what is it to you that most impressed you about this guy? Because I feel like while they've been playing not as great lately, you know the potential is obviously there for him to be just outstanding.
Yeah, I think it's because he can make plays on script and off script. And he doesn't do a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah.
He really doesn't.
Yeah.
He does
protects
fun
the ball
stuff.
well. Fun, yes.
Fun, yes.
He protects the ball well. He gets in good spots. And then when everything else fails, he goes and makes a play. He has a phenomenal arm. It's right there with Josh Allen. I mean, you know, those two will probably be joking about it. I mean, who can throw it farther?
Can you tell them the joke you made to Josh?
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't really a dad joke. It was not
No,
bad.
I thought this was
funny.
great.
So we were at the Super Bowl, and we had Josh Allen on the red carpet,
Mm-hmm.
looking dapper, ready to go. And so I got a chance to interview him, and I said, all right, you and Patrick Mahomes. And I think he's anticipating
Yes.
who can, you know, and I said, who can hit a golf ball farther? And he jumped right into that.
he
He's like,
did.
oh, it's me. I don't think Pat plays that much. I can hit it pretty far. And then he said in terms of throwing, like, Josh won't back away from anybody.
No.
No.
I mean,
no.
he knows how far he can throw the ball, but Mahomes has just this ability to do it. And I think there is something that takes away a little of the angst for a quarterback when he just won the Super Bowl. Like, he's already proved that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? He has won the Super
off
Bowl.
your shoulder.
Now he's going for 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen hasn't won the playoff game yet. He's a year behind him. The team's been behind a little bit in terms of what the Chiefs have done.
Yeah.
So, like, even that loss. Hey, look, the Chiefs lost. You know, the
Yeah.
Chiefs lost. They lost to the Raiders. The Raiders just pounded them offensively.
They barely beat the Patriots.
And the Patriots ran it all
without
over
Cam.
them
Yeah.
in that game. And Baltimore, that game was back and forth.
And the Chargers almost beat them.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Chargers
So-
took them to overtime.
Exactly. So they have not been great, but they have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And when you have Patrick Mahomes, as we saw in the playoffs, down in every game, and we were at the Super Bowl, they
Yeah.
looked like they were dead in the Super Bowl, and they still found a way to win.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think, Dan, for the Bills, now I feel like a lot of times it's like the Chiefs, they are unstoppable, all of these things. They had their first loss since November 2019, I think. Just the fact that they now have that loss. Not only are the Chiefs going to be motivated, but to the Bills, what do you think that says of, yeah, this team is beatable?
Yeah, I just don't think that this Bills team at this point anymore, you know, sees these teams as unbeatable. Look,
Yeah.
they took
Yeah,
the Patriots, you know, last year in Foxborough down to the final drive. Like, this is now a Bills team. They went into Dallas. I can't stress that enough. And the people that I've talked to around the league say how important that Dallas win on Thanksgiving was. That they can always look back and go, that was a franchise-changing win, is what Brian Baldinger called it when I was talking to him. So, like, this team is not going to be intimidated. I think this Chiefs team is very beatable. And I just think, like Mike says, like, not to say they're relaxed, but like, all right, they lost a game. Like, they're probably going to run away with their division. Like, they know they're going to be a top team. Like,
Yeah.
they've done all of that.
Yeah.
And this Bills team, I think, is ready for those challenges. And they'll never call it a measuring stick game or anything like that, but it is.
It is.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
it's
gonna say.
no. It's
Yeah.
a measuring stick game. Both teams coming off a loss. The Bills, Paul asking, are they going to use it as a wake-up call? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially defensively. And then the sloppy penalties, the sloppy pre-snap penalties, all those things. I think you'll see a sharp, focused team coming in. I think the Chiefs are going to be ready, too. But who isn't ready to play a game on a random Monday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon
happy
at
hour
an empty
special.
Bills Stadium?
But you can watch it on Fox Rochester.
Yeah, look at that.
Make sure you watch it on Fox Rochester. We also know it's going to be a reunion, though, in terms of Sean McDermott
Yeah.
and Andy Reid. McDermott coming out of the Andy Reid coaching tree, unfortunately not wearing any Hawaiian shirts, at least not yet. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's in his future. But, Mike, just give the viewers, you know, they have such a deep relationship.
Well, Andy Reid took over as the Eagles coach. Sean McDermott, a Philly kid, young guy, ends up going there as a coaching intern, works his way up, and eventually becomes the defensive coordinator of the Eagles. What a rise that he made working on that staff. And then Andy Reid fired him. And he told him that this is the best thing that's going to happen for you.
Don't do that to me.
Please, Mike.
Don't
Okay.
do that to me.
Well, you know what? He got himself in a sort of bad circumstance. Now, look, Andy Reid was a bit of a mess at that time. He had made some bad coaching decisions, made some after that point. He had been there a long time. But he lets McDermott go. McDermott goes to Carolina, and he ends up working for another Andy Reid guy, and Ron Rivera, builds himself up, goes to a Super Bowl, and then gets the Bills head coaching job. And I think Andy Reid is pretty excited for what Sean McDermott has done.
I mean, I think anyone would be as a mentor to see the role that he has played. He said he was tremendous when he was talking about him. He was asked by Kansas City media. He talked about the fact that he's so proud of him, and to see kind of the way Sean McDermott did come up, taking over a franchise that we know has been in some bad times and for a long time before McDermott got here. So I think absolutely Andy Reid was.
And I'm excited to see the face shield from Andy.
Oh,
yeah,
it's good
because
stuff.
he started it. Now other coaches are wearing it.
I do love it though.
He's got to go mask.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
New protocols. You can't just wear a face shield.
Yeah, that's true. That's
you
a good
have to
point.
have a mask with the face shield or a double-layered neck gaiter. Whatever.
Double
And who
layer.
has the double layered? Sean McDermott has 12 layers of
It
a
is
mask.
funny when you take a look at like who they are as people, though. Like McDermott, pretty buttoned-up guy. I feel like he eats like Cliff
But they
bars.
both had
like
red hair
he's very.
or had red
Yes.
hair,
Yeah.
as Reid
Yeah.
said that they both pretty much don't have
And
it
then
anymore.
Andy Reid's house and cheeseburger is a little different.
Yeah, they are different in that way. And look, Andy's an offensive guy. Sean's a defensive guy.
Yeah.
And you better believe going up against his mentor off of that defensive performance against the best offensive coach in the game, right? Other guys are all these young geniuses, but Andy Reid's done it for 2 decades plus. It's a real challenge. And for Sean McDermott,
Hilarious. Well, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. That's how crazy the show is. You never know what's going to happen.
Keeping
Andy
you on your
Reid.
toes.
So is Andy Reid? Was that where we were?
We were talking about Andy Reid,
Yeah.
Sean McDermott,
You're
the
right.
matchup.
And the matchup. And that's why I said about McDermott, I say he was embarrassed, right?
Yeah, I would
He was
be.
embarrassed by the way his defense played. I think he's upset at how they've played all year.
Yeah.
And I know Trey White. I know Matt Milano. But in the past, when guys have been out for periods of time, the Bills have always been able to make up for it. Again, when I speak, power just stops. Look at that.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm tired of hearing this.
You know what's better than 1 power outage? 2 power outages.
Seriously.
We are
Doubling
on a
down.
roll.
Oh, 3.
Hey, by the way, that time it was you talking.
I'm profound.
This is
So we'll just turn this into a
quite a
podcast.
show.
You can't really see us, but
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, people are asking audio back.
So people can hear us?
I think so.
Look at that.
Respond if you can hear us. Let us know.
I will say, we haven't had this very often at the 13 Wham Studios. I mean, it's happened a few times. I mean, it happened way back in the day. When
Did it
we had the
happen
big-
on air?
Well, on air?
I was gonna say,
yeah.
has it ever happened?
We went through a little stretch but we've got, obviously you can tell we got generators that eventually kick on
Yeah.
and bring the lights
They're getting
back. but-
tested tonight.
Wait a minute. I want to put a tie around my head and pretend I'm Charlie Steiner in the old ESPN commercials.
I dare you.
Yeah.
Do it, I dare you.
Yeah.
All right.
I did have a point
Oh, okay.
before we lost power twice.
3
And it was-
times.
Three,
yeah,
yeah.
And it was about McDermott and Reid, and I'm amazed at myself that I still have it.
You're
train of
hanging on
thought.
to it, yeah.
Mike, you talked about how they were embarrassed and how Sean McDermott
Right.
has such pride going up against Andy Reid, and one of the things I've always complimented McDermott and Bean on, especially in this Buffalo organization, is that there are adults in the room, and I think that was the biggest thing that Buffalo needed, and especially after a game like this, I see this as pride coming back, and other teams before, and I guess I'll take the shots, but like I just never saw Doug Marrone or Rex Ryan having that pride and bouncing back. I really think it's kind of like when like the babysitter yells at you and you don't really listen until like mom and dad come home.
That was scary.
Things are like
there was some loud
popping.
There's some, yeah.
But my point is that they're parents, they're adults, and that like their words and their emotions will help get Buffalo back on track, and that this isn't some team franchise that just doesn't that'll just roll off.
Yeah, but here's the other point about it is when you talk about a guy, especially Rex Ryan, they were always looking for the quick fix to get everybody all jacked up and then go out and play.
They won the offseason.
You know what Sean McDermott, yes. You know what he tells his players? What does it get back to win games?
Basics.
Fundamentals.
Basics,
oh,
yeah.
1/11th. And you know, that 1/11th is a cliche, but it's a cliche based in truth, like most of them are, right?
Yeah.
1/11th meaning like you see guys either trying to do too much or not going to the right position, and the next thing you know, you say, well, how did that guy get free? How did he get the touchdown here? Why didn't that happen? It's because football looks like a game of chaos, but it is built on precision and people being in the right spots.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have to work around that. Well, if you're not taking care of your gap integrity, 1/11th, all those things.
Eye discipline.
And it all becomes part of fundamentals. And he's big on fundamentals. And they look like a fundamentally weak team in Nashville. I think that's an aberration. I think the problems on defense are around the league, like a lot of teams. I mean, when you watch the Cowboys play, I mean, they can light it up with points, but they can't stop anybody, right? That's the league. I think the Bills will get some of that back because the fundamentals are still solid with this team, and I think he's got them working on that for this week.
I think they have pieces. I think they just need to play better. Like I know it's the easy thing to say, like play calling or like they got to bring in somebody. Like this was a team that is used to being a top 5 defense over the last few years. Like whether it's somebody, like you said, Mike, somebody needs to make a play.
Yeah.
Whether that used to be somebody had to get a turnover. Like that was on Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Like somebody needs to make a play. And Shea White over on our Buffalo Plus YouTube channel says he loves the channel. He's asked this question 6 times, so I will address it. He wants to know if they should have been more aggressive with Le'Veon Bell. Look, we talked about that in the beginning of the show, but I really think there are bigger fish to fry on this team. And Le'Veon Bell would have been the cherry on top of a really good Sunday of offense, but the problem isn't the Bills' offense.
But I will say this. That's what Kansas City's looking at. You keep adding more offense, it helps your defense, right? You keep scoring more points. And the other point about that is at some point, if they go make a move on defense, it might be because of money they didn't spend on Le'Veon Bell. Now, I don't think it's going to cost a fortune, but it's Bell making the call here, too. I don't think money was the issue. I think Miami was probably going to pay him more than anybody.
Probably.
And he could have stayed at home. I think he ended up, look, he picked the Chiefs. Like,
I mean, I get it.
You're going to fault the guy for picking Kansas City?
People ask me, I was like, yeah, I would understand as a guy like that.
You'd want to go work in Kansas City, wouldn't you?
No, I'm good on that. But if I was a player, I would want to play for a team that are, favorites to the Run It Back tour. But I get it. Speaking of the Run It Back tour, we're going to do our picks right now. Mike, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I've picked the Bills every week so far this year, and I got anxious leading up to the game in Nashville.
On Tuesday?
Yeah, on Tuesday. It just started to turn the other way. It felt that way, and then the game played out that way. But I had picked the Bills. This week, I think the Bills have a shot. I think if the defense plays better, they're going to be in it. But Kansas City coming off that loss and the way they can score, and Trey White not being 100%, Matt Milano, if he plays, not being 100%, I've got Kansas City winning at 35-30.
I think the good thing is John Brown was a full participant in practice today, and I think you saw how much of a loss he was when he was not on the field in Tennessee. But, Dan, what about you?
I went against the Bills last week. Or, no, we were all Titans, so scratch that.
No, we were all Bills.
We were all Bills.
We were all wrong.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This is a game that I look at, and I see that I think this game means more to Sean McDermott than it does Andy Reid facing his former mentor. I just look at this is a team in the Chiefs where we all look at their positives and all the advantages they have in their offense. Their defense is probably just as vulnerable as the Bills' defense is right now. They are able to give up deep plays. They gave up 4 plays of over 40 yards against the Oakland Raiders. Vegas Raiders. Did it again. I think Josh Allen and the Bills come out swinging. I don't think they play passive at all. Forget the run. Josh is going to be the heavy hitter. They get in a slugfest with the Chiefs. They come out with the win 38-34.
I think because the defenses are pretty comparable, in my opinion, as well. I think because of that, I have the Chiefs winning this game. And it's not an indictment on Josh Allen and the Bills' offense. I just think that this Chiefs team is very motivated after their loss. Look, they had kind of been skating by a couple games into this season, and I think this will be the wake-up game for the Chiefs. And I think that they have a lot of weapons, and I just think that this Bills defense has struggled so much, especially with those big plays. Especially, I mean, it's just been tough to see because it's been awesome. I think this game's going to be a shootout. I think it is going to be a lot of points. I think Josh Allen is going to lead the Bills, but I just think I'm giving the edge to the Chiefs because of the reputation they have.
And let's be honest, this game could be impactful to who has home field advantage.
Yeah, this is huge in terms of AFC.
Could have to who gets the bye, right? I mean, yes, Baltimore is right there too, and we don't know, but right now there are 2 first-place teams, yes?
Yes,
it's
I'm
going to
laughing.
be a game of swings. That's the most dangerous thing about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. You can force 3 straight 3-and-outs, and in one play they can score a touchdown. So, like, that is the tough part. But so many teams, I feel like, go up against the Chiefs and try and run the ball and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. I just don't think that's a successful way for this Bills offense to go. Come out swinging. I think you can get big plays off of them and really kind of shove the Chiefs game back in their face. I think you take your shots.
I think you've got to be aggressive when you do play the Chiefs. So I definitely agree with that. And we have seen Brian Daboll be aggressive in terms of his play calling. But Shay White says, come on, Jenna, hater. This is a huge game, though, not only for the Chiefs, but also for the Bills in terms of our predictions. If Dan wins this game and the Bills win this game, then we are all back to even heading into week 6.
Well, I will say, there it goes again.
It is when you're talking.
Well, yeah, it really is. I will say this, and we can finish with this. I will say this, that I hope Dan gets even with us because I really love to see the Bills win this game. Look at that. It is?
There we go. Never thought I would do this on TV.
Mike Tice said, or Mike Bice said, this has been an entertaining show for sure.
Yeah.
It has. If nothing else.
By the way, real quick, I'm trying to read. Raymond DM here says depth seems to be a problem defensively. Jen, I heard you say something really smart about depth for the Bills.
Mark Levy always said, depth is a great thing until you have to use it. Wow. I came up with that. No, I'm kidding.
That's good. That's a good line.
Mark
That's
Levy
a Mark
had
line.
that. It's like in The Office where it's Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
I just wanted on the record, the lights went out when Jenna was talking this time.
I was breathing. That was
you think we should wrap it up?
Yeah. All right.
Follow me to freedom.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully be able to see you next time, and you'll be able to see us for Mike Catalana and Dan Fates. I'm Jenna Cottrell. Thanks for watching.